As I reflect on my life, I've come to realize that I've hit a lot of significant milestones. Some were academic achievements, others involved personal goals related to hobbies. But the most important milestone, the one that truly stands out, was the moment I decided to come out to my mother and share with her my secret desire. It was the year I turned 18. I was in college, still living at home. From my bedroom, up on the top floor of our Victorian townhouse, I could hear the front door close, a loud, almost slamming sound. It was just the way it had to be to get it shut. That meant my stepfather was off on his trip, and with my sisters away, I was alone in the house with my mother. I set my book down, walked to the top of the stairs, and called out, "Mom, are you still here?" "I'm in the living room," she called back. "What do you need?" I walked down to join her. When I entered the room, she put down her magazine and smiled. "I need to talk to you, Mom," I said, taking a deep breath. "There's something I need to tell you." She looked at me thoughtfully. "Of course, Mike. You look like you're carrying the weight of the world. What is it?" I sat down, leaning forward. I want to be a girl, Mom." The words slipped out before I could stop them. "I don't know why, but I do." Her eyes widened with surprise. "Well, that explains why I've found some of my clothes, and some of your sisters, moved around." She smiled a little, as though understanding. "I figured you might have been experimenting when we were out," she said, giving me a knowing look. "So, are you thinking about transitioning, or do you just want to dress as a girl sometimes?" "I'm not sure," I admitted. "Maybe just sometimes at first. I'll see how it feels." I fought back tears. "I just want to be true to myself." She smiled gently. "Why didn't you come to me sooner?" she asked, then paused, adding, "Wait. I think I understand why." She smiled again. "Let's see how serious you are." She stood up. "Wait here. I'll call you when I'm ready." She left the room, and I was left to process everything. I was nervous but curious about what she was planning. "Mike," she called from upstairs. "Come up to your room. I've got something for you." My stomach twisted with nerves, but I pushed the butterflies down and headed upstairs. When I walked in, I saw my mother standing there with a smile, waiting for me. On my bed, she had laid out some of my sister's clothes and underwear. In her hands, she held a pair of shoes that I knew would fit. "I want you to get dressed," she said, smiling. "When you're ready, come downstairs. We'll talk." She winked and added, "Next time, we'll try a wig and see what you look like with a full look." With that, she left. I took a deep breath, looked at the clothes she'd left me, and started changing. I carefully folded my male clothes and placed them on a chair. I gently stepped into the panties, followed by the bra. It took a little effort, but I finally got it on comfortably. I stuffed the cups to give myself a modest bust, then slid into the tights and half-slip. Next, I put on the ankle-length skirt, a soft green peasant style, and a loose, flowy top. I glanced at myself in the mirror. There, staring back at me, was a teenage girl, though with my short hair. Finally, I slipped into the shoes and gave myself one last look. With a gentle swirl of my skirt, I left my room and made my way downstairs. The sound of the heels clicking against the wooden floor echoed in the quiet house. When I entered the kitchen, I saw my mom filling the kettle. She smiled when she saw me and motioned for me to sit down. I sat at the table, making sure to smooth the skirt beneath me and keep my knees together. Mom chuckled, clearly noticing my attempt to act natural. "I see you've been practicing your feminine mannerisms," she said, grinning. "If you're going to dress as a girl, you'll need to remember to act like one." She made a pot of tea, poured us both a mug, and sat down across from me. I took a gentle sip, trying to calm my nerves. To break the silence, Mom said, "Honestly, I prefer you as a boy, Mike. But tell me, how do you feel about this? How do the clothes you're wearing feel?" I put my mug down, looking up at her. I feel right, Mom, I answered, surprised at how clear the feeling was. It's hard to explain, but I just feel right. The clothes feel comfortable, even the shoes. Mom giggled. Having you wear those shoes was a test, she said, sipping her tea. And you passed. She smiled warmly at me. Now, I can't call you Mike dressed like that. Do you have a girl's name, or would you like me to give you one? I paused for a moment, unsure. To be honest, Mom. I chewed my lip. I don't have one. I haven't really thought about it. Then I'll call you Ava, she said with a meaningful smile. It's the name we called your grandmother, so I think she'd be okay with you having it too. She took another sip of tea and looked at me. Do you like it? I smiled widely. I think it's wonderful, Mom, I said. I like the sound of Ava. My smile widened even more. You can even call me that when I'm in boy mode. Mom laughed softly. That's why I picked it. I know your sister calls you Ava. I cringed slightly at the mention of Maya. She only ever used the name to annoy me, but I kept my smile hidden, knowing I had to play along. Ava, Mom continued, we have a few hours until your sister gets home. You can stay dressed as you are, but when I tell you to change, you will. Okay? Okay, Mom, I replied. Would you like to help with anything? She asked, smiling. You could help with some cleaning and get dinner ready, she suggested. I'll find you an apron so you don't get your blouse dirty. We worked together, cleaning and preparing the meal. I kept practicing, learning how to be the girl I wanted to be. Later, when we were having another cup of tea, Mom told me, I'm taking you shopping tomorrow. I'm going to get my new daughter some clothes. The next day, we went shopping and bought a small selection of clothes. They would be mine, easy to wash and slip into my wardrobe without my sister noticing. But it was the following Saturday that truly stood out. Once again, it was just Mom and me at home. My sister was away at a festival, and my stepfather had not yet returned from his trip. Ava, Mom called, it's time. I knew exactly what she meant. I got dressed in my girl clothes again, leaving my boy clothes neatly folded on my desk chair. I wore a light beige roll-neck jumper, a blue pleated knee-length skirt, tan tights, and a pair of blue 2-inch heeled court shoes. I made my way downstairs to Mom's bedroom. She was dressed in a business skirt and blouse, an outfit that surprised me since she usually wore jeans and a t-shirt on Saturdays. I pushed my curiosity aside for the moment. I see the fillers are working better than socks, she joked as I entered her room. And you're handling those heels well. Mom smiled and patted the dressing stool. Now, come sit down. Let me work my magic and make you pretty. She began her work. Every sensation was new, brushes against my skin, the subtle feeling of foundation and powder, the soft touch of mascara on my lashes, and the faint taste of lipstick on my lips. She placed an auburn shoulder-length wig on my head and brushed it out. She shaped my nails into soft, rounded edges and polished them to match my lipstick. Take a look at the new you, Ava, she said with a smile. What do you think? I was speechless. I stared at the young woman in the mirror, and as I smiled, she smiled back. Wow, I whispered. I look like Aunt Julia. A little younger, but I look like Aunt Julia. I looked at Mom and smiled. Thank you, Mom. You've made me look amazing. If you're going to be my daughter, you're going to do this properly, she said with a smile. I'll help you as much as I can. You're going to be Ava for the weekend, she added matter-of-factly. You're going to meet some people I know. My heart skipped a beat. But Mom, I hesitated, I don't think I'm ready. Ava, Mom said calmly, cutting me off. When you walked in earlier, you handled those heels like you'd been wearing them for years. Looking at you now, I don't see my son. I see a young lady. She paused, giving me a knowing look. Please indulge me. I knew I couldn't say no to her. After all, I had already opened up to her about wanting to be a girl. Okay, Mom, I said with a weak smile. I'll meet your friends. Mom smiled warmly and stood up. I'll find you a jacket and a handbag, and then we'll be off. She handed me a handbag, and as I opened it, I realized it contained everything a woman might carry: makeup for quick touch-ups, a purse, house keys, tissues, and a few other necessities. Soon, we were walking side by side toward her friend Sophie's house. I quickly realized I was about to meet Sophie's book club, and I took a deep breath. Each member of the group knew me as Mike, and now I was about to meet them as Ava. Sophie greeted me with a big smile and introduced me to the group. She led us into the drawing room where I was introduced to the rest of the members. Ava, Sophie said, have you read From Man to Woman? It's the book we've all been reading. I answered honestly, yes, I have. It's very interesting, honest, and from what I understand, it's the true story of one person's difficult journey. I had read the book because Mom often left it lying around. I started reading it, always returning it where I found it. Mom smiled as she realized I wasn't just saying it for show. I smiled back, wondering if she was testing me. She gave me a subtle wink and nodded. If I can be honest, I said, looking around the room. Of course, Ava, Sophie replied. We like our members to be honest. No one will judge you. Thank you, I said, taking a deep breath. I hope to take a similar journey to the one Maria has taken. I paused, unsure of what to say next, but before I could continue, Sophie spoke up. Hold that thought, Ava, she said with a knowing smile. Then, she grinned broadly, her eyes twinkling. It seems Kristen has pulled the wool over our eyes, she said. This beautiful girl is actually Mike, her son. She asked me to stand and give them a twirl. And I think she looks fantastic, she added. A member of the group, Mrs. Woods, smiled at me. So, you're going to become a woman, Ava? She asked kindly. I wish you all the best on your journey. The other members smiled in agreement. I realized that this had all been a setup, and I glanced at my mom, who grinned back, as if answering a question I hadn't asked. Sophie wrapped her arms around me in a hug. Welcome to the group, kiddo, she said warmly. Welcome to the sisterhood. You don't have to hide anymore. She pulled back slightly and added, Now, no tears, don't ruin your makeup. I had been accepted as a woman by women. I was a little confused but grateful. Another member spoke up, explaining that they had chosen From Man to Woman because Mom suspected I had been secretly wearing her and my sister's clothes. They wanted to understand the reasons behind it. Sophie added, We all knew you would come out to her one day, and this was your test. To see if you were serious. She paused and smiled. Well, honey, you've passed. I wasn't sure what to say, but Miss James suggested we go out instead of staying inside. The others agreed. Are you ready for an adventure, Ava? Sophie asked, grinning. You're about to get your lesson in Girl 101. I nodded, determined. If I was going to walk this path, I had to show my commitment. The day was spent shopping, followed by lunch at a bistro. No one saw me as a boy dressed as a girl. No one challenged my gender, and I made some wonderful older friends. The following morning, when I came down for breakfast, Mom smiled. I had done my own makeup, taking another step on my journey. If you appreciated this story and wish to show your support, please consider leaving a like and subscribing to my channel.